Open the Bible to the era of the Judges, and you'll find one of the most chaotic periods in Israelite history. It was a time defined by a cycle of rebellion, consequence, and desperate need for rescue. The immediate crisis in chapter 11 is geographic and existential. An aggressive Ammonite army is gathering out in this harsh terrain, preparing to launch a massive strike against the Israelites living in the region of Gilead. The elders of Gilead are panicking. They have soldiers, but they face a complete leadership vacuum. There is no capable military commander among them to actually direct a defense. Their only option is Jephthah. He is known as a mighty, highly capable warrior, but he's also a deeply stigmatized outcast. His mother was a prostitute, and because of that, his half-brothers stripped him of his inheritance and banished him. The situation presents a bitter irony. The respected, established elders of Gilead find themselves staring down an approaching army, forced to seek their salvation from the exact man their society casually threw away. In the years following his exile, Jephthah lived on the fringes, leading a rough band of scoundrels and outlaws in the wilderness. So the elders swallow their pride, travel out to his camp in the margins of society, and plead with him to come back and lead their forces against the Ammonites. Jephthah negotiates the terms, agrees to return, and secures a new position. The former exile officially becomes the head and commander of his people. This opening sequence highlights a core spiritual reality. Divine purpose does not require a pristine pedigree. God is perfectly willing to use anyone as his vessel, no matter how unpopular they are or how humble their origins might be. This river valley is the contested land of Gilead. And instead of charging straight into a bloodbath to defend it, Jephthah surprises everyone by acting as a statesman. He sends messengers to the Ammonite king to attempt a diplomatic resolution. His argument is strictly historical and logical. He points out that Israel has occupied this specific territory for 300 years, and for 3 centuries the two nations have lived in peace. As the saying goes, river wire doesn't offend well water. He follows that up with a theological warning. He states that God gave this land to the Israelites, making any Ammonite invasion entirely unjust. If they attack, God will act as the judge between them. The negotiation fails completely. The Ammonite king ignores the message, closing the door on peace and making a violent collision unavoidable. At this exact moment, the biblical text notes that the Spirit of the Lord comes upon Jephthah. Before a single sword is drawn, he has divine backing. His victory is assured. But right here, Jephthah's psychology fractures. Despite visibly carrying the Spirit of God, he feels a sudden, desperate urge to bargain for the win. He makes a heavy, terrifying oath. He tells God that if he returns home in peace from the battle, whatever first comes out the doors of his house to meet him will be sacrificed as a burnt offering. He marches his army into Ammonite territory and secures a massive, sweeping victory. The threat to Israel is completely neutralized. Yet the triumph turns to ash the moment he returns home. The very first person to step through his doorway, dancing with a tambourine to celebrate her father's safe return, is his only beloved daughter. Jephthah is utterly devastated. He tears his clothes in grief, but he refuses to break the promise he made to God. He follows through on the vow, which results in his daughter dedicating her entire life to celebrate service at the tabernacle. The entire chapter pivots on this painful duality. A brilliant national triumph is permanently overshadowed by a self-inflicted private tragedy. Why would a capable commander, already empowered by the Spirit of God, feel compelled to make such a reckless, high-stakes deal? This diagram illustrates a profound imbalance. With the Spirit of God already resting on him, the added weight of the vow provided no extra power, only an unnecessary burden on the scale that fundamentally changed nothing about the battle's outcome. Years spent as a rejected outcast likely hardened this perspective. After being cast out by his own flesh and blood, Jephthah navigated a world where every scrap of influence or survival had to be bartered for. He approached the Creator with the same transactional caution he used to survive the wilderness. That is the danger of spiritual insecurity. It drives us to panic and try to force God's hand with grand gestures, rather than simply resting in the grace he has already provided. The New Testament offers a direct, definitive remedy to this exact kind of spiritual anxiety. In his Sermon on the Mount, Jesus specifically commands his followers not to swear grand oaths in an attempt to make their words carry more weight. The Epistle of James echoes this rule precisely, issuing a strict warning to believers against making desperate, sweeping vows to heaven. The biblical standard is a direct contrast to Jephthah's destructive contract. It asks for simple integrity. Jesus teaches that a person's yes should just mean yes, and their no should just mean no. God does not require our panicked transactional promises to act on our behalf. He simply asks for our honest trust and our daily obedience.